South Korea hosts a large-scale multilateral summit next week with African nations, hoping to expand cooperation in business and other key areas. North Korea fired multiple short-range ballistic missiles this morning on the heels of sending hundreds of balloons carrying waste and trash across the border. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said it seemed to be aimed at trying to make up for the regime's botched spy satellite launch attempt earlier. Renowned experts from around the world have gathered on the country's Jeju Island for an annual peace forum. We have takeaways of what's being discussed to address security risks that Korea and the world face today. It's May 30th, 2024. This is Newscenter. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Min. We start with South Korea's first multilateral summit with the African Union, set to take place here in the nation next week. It's the biggest multilateral event under the Yoon administration. For more on what to expect, here is our presidential office correspondent, Kim Do-yeon.
48 African nations, among those around 30 heads of state. That's the expected size of the first Korea-Africa summit hosted by South Korea on June 4th and 5th.
The summit's theme is the future we make together. Making this the grand basis of Korea-Africa cooperation, we will deeply discuss the three goals: shared growth, sustainability, and solidarity.
According to the top office on Thursday, the first event-wide engagement will be the dinner banquet on June 3rd, and after the main opening ceremony kicks things off, the leaders will go into discussions. And after the closing ceremony, there will be a joint press conference by President Yoon and African Union Chair and Mauritania's President Mohamed Ould Ghazouani. On the 5th, South Korea's Trade Ministry and Korea's Trade Investment Promotion Agency, or KOTRA, will host a business summit. During this period, there will also be 13 sideline events. South Korea had actually been eyeing this event for a long time, first announcing the plan back in 2022.
교류 협력을 더욱 체계적으로 추진하기 위해 아프리카와의 기존 장관급 포럼을 정상급으로 격상하겠습니다. 이를 위해 2024년 한국에서 한-아프리카 특별 정상회의를 개최하고자 합니다.
The top office emphasized that 60% of the African population is under the age of 25, with a big market and abundant key natural resources, saying it's a must that South Korea enhances exchanges with the continent, adding such a summit has come late.
Considering our country's status in the international community, it seems somewhat late to hold the first summit now. However, the fact that most invited countries have expressed their intention to attend reflects Africa's high expectations for cooperation with South Korea.
The top office named three key aims. First, strengthening economic cooperation for co-growth, focusing on sharing South Korea's export expansion experiences. Second, promoting the transformation of industrial and digital infrastructure, focusing on the agro and fishery industries with expanded aid. Lastly, tackling global challenges together, especially through agricultural technology transfer projects. In the meantime, an official says while this is only the first event, so it can't be said for sure, and hosting around 50 nations is no easy task. It'll be the best to make it a regular event every 4 to 5 years, so administrations that follow can host such a summit at least once. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
North Korea fired multiple ballistic missiles toward the East Sea this morning, having sent hundreds of balloons carrying waste and trash across the border earlier. Our North Korean affairs correspondent Kim Jong-sil explains the regime's intention behind.
North Korea launched around 10 short-range ballistic missiles on Thursday morning toward the East Sea. Firing this many missiles is almost unprecedented, according to experts, with the possible aim being to make up for the regime's failed military spy satellite launch attempt Monday night. The missiles were detected at around 6 a.m. by South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff and are estimated to have traveled around 350 kilometers.
Regarding the launch of ballistic missiles by North Korea today, we conclude that it, as well as the sending balloons carrying waste that were sent into the south, are an effort to deflect away from the failed attempt to launch a spy satellite into orbit on Monday.
The military added it immediately locked onto and tracked the missiles, sharing the related information with the U.S. and Japan. This missile provocation follows the hundreds of balloons reportedly carrying fecal matter and waste that the regime sent across the border into the south from around Tuesday night. The North Korean leader's sister, Kim Yo-jong, called the balloons sincere gifts to South Korea and said they were sent under the regime's freedom of expression. In response to Kim's comments, South Korea's Ministry of Unification released a statement on Thursday. It said that freedom of expression for the regime's people is severely restricted and it cannot be used along the same lines as in the South, referring to South Korean private organizations sending money and medicine to the North along with leaflets. The ministry added the North should realize that there are more urgent tasks to ensure its people have free access to outside information and the right to decide for themselves instead of continuing to violate UN Security Council resolutions by launching satellite and ballistic missiles. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
President Yoon has asked the new U.S. Indo-Pacific commander to help establish a united form of extended deterrence between South Korea and the U.S. against the North. His remarks came as he met Admiral Samuel Paparo on Thursday in Seoul, requesting to maintain a firm combined readiness posture amid North Korea's illegal nuclear and missile developments and provocations. In response, the admiral said he will continue to closely cooperate with South Korea to keep a solid joint defense posture. This year's Jeju Forum, an annual event held in South Korea to discuss diplomatic and security matters, is currently taking place on the country's southern resort island. Leaders of global organizations focus on ways to overcome geopolitical risks. Our foreign affairs correspondent Bae Yun-ji files this report from Jeju.
An annual peace forum officially kicked off on Thursday on South Korea's southern island of Jeju. One of the key events, the World Leader Session, was held after being suspended for 4 years because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Former and current heads of international organizations have gathered here on Jeju Island to address geopolitical uncertainties as the world faces multiple crises, including ongoing conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East. Taking part in this year's event was former United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and former Japanese Prime Minister Yasuo Fukuda. Ban stressed the need for South Korea to work closely with the United States and other like-minded countries to find ways to monitor North Korea. Noting that the North has been neglecting UN Security Council resolutions, he expressed concerns about the regime's military cooperation with Russia.
We must continue to press the members of the Security Council to extend, to revive the panel of experts on monitoring North Korean nuclear issues. It's shameful that Russia has been supporting continuously until they received some military materials to attack Ukraine.
In March, Russia blocked the annual renewal of a United Nations panel tasked with overseeing international sanctions against North Korea, using its veto power. The move was strongly criticized by Ukraine, the U.S., France, the UK, and other Western countries, and prompted South Korea and its allies to seek alternatives to keep an eye on the North. Meanwhile, the executive director of the APEC Secretariat, who also took part in the event on Thursday, stressed the importance of middle powers in order to overcome global risks, referring to countries that sit below great powers but still have influence over global politics.
I really feel that there is a role for middle powers in helping us to deal with those issues, whether it's climate change, whether it is the digital issues, whether it's AI, whether it's the energy transition.
There are more than 300 experts taking part in this year's Jeju Forum. It will run until Friday at the Jeju International Convention Center. Bae Yun-ji, Arirang News, Jeju.
President Yoon Suk-yeol celebrated South Korea's next step towards becoming one of the world's top 5 space powers on Thursday with the launch of the country's new space-dedicated agency. During its first National Space Committee meeting, President Yoon said that the Korea AeroSpace Administration will usher in a new space era, with some of its main missions being to land a domestic probe on the moon by 2032 and plant the national flag on Mars by 2045. By expanding the relevant budget to more than 1.5 trillion Korean won, or just over $1 billion by 2027, he pledged to foster the country's space program and nurture domestic aerospace companies. The inauguration day of KASA, May 27th, will also be designated as a national commemorative day called Aerospace Day. The Education Ministry has unveiled its medical school quota guidelines for the academic year of 2025, and the medical arena is reaffirming its strong opposition. Park Gon-woo has the latest.
Admission guidelines for the medical school quota increase in South Korea for next year were announced on Thursday by the Education Ministry. They include a total increase of 1,497 students compared to the year before, across 39 colleges nationwide. The new total is 4,610, and the figure is reported to be irreversible. Specifically compared to the year before, around 900 more students living in regions outside the capital area will be able to go to medical schools located where they live. That adds up to a total of 1,919, which is almost twice as many as the previous year. Medical schools outside the capital region were recommended by the government to pick at least 60% of their total entries from those students who are living outside the capital area. 18 followed the guidelines of at least 60%, while Jeonnam National University recorded the highest proportion among all, with 78.8%, followed by Gyeongsang National University with 72.5%, and Busan National University with 69.3%. Some schools, including Chungnam National University, were just below 60% despite their quota increase. The Korean Medical Association has responded by saying that it would hold a candlelight rally Thursday night under the slogan of "A death sentence for the Korean medical system," as it says the plans have led to the collapse of the medical system. Rallies will be held in areas across the country, including Seoul, Busan, and Daegu. Lee Myung-taek, the head of the KMA, said on Wednesday that an important declaration will be made during the rallies. While speculation rises as to whether Im will announce a general walkout, some people in the medical community say this hasn't been decided. Park Gon-woo, Arirang News.
Classrooms with only chalkboards and textbooks could become a thing of the past. Our Choi Soo-hyung went to an education fair to check out the learning methodologies for future generations.
The teacher rolls digital dice instead of using chalk. Students use tablet styluses instead of pencils. This is a model classroom showing education methods for future generations at the 2024 Korea Glocal Education Fair in Yeosu, Jeollanam-do Province. The teacher running the model AI classroom said it is time to prepare for future education that goes beyond the accumulation of knowledge.
When we teach, we prioritize problem-solving skills over mere knowledge memorization. We focus more on this area by creating problem-solving spaces in the metaverse, which brings many positive effects.
Bong, the teacher, said that future education will be based on sharing and communication, unlike traditional passive education where knowledge is simply delivered from a teacher to the student. Students who participated in a history class said they could focus even more and enjoyed learning interactively.
It's definitely more interesting and fun to learn within games on a screen compared to just reading textbooks.
Communicating with the teacher is also more efficient. Instead of just listening to the teacher's lecture from a textbook, we can present together and see the teacher from different angles, making the class more effective.
One of the educational devices company officials participating in the fair spoke about the schools that apply future education systems.
In one middle school and one high school, the system is now in place and working effectively. According to school officials and teachers, using our system has notably reduced fatigue during full-day classes and significantly improved efficiency in sharing lessons and collaborative work among students.
The 2024 Korea Glocal Education Fair will run until June 2nd. Jeju, Arirang News, Yosu.
Mentoring is a powerful practice for professional advancement, and here in Korea, behind a number of renowned screen productions is a common mentorship program. Our culture correspondent Song Yoo-jin tells us more.
Occult horror movie Eczema and lighthearted K-drama Extraordinary Attorney Woo might not seem like they have much in common. But they were created by individuals who experienced the magic touch of the creative mentoring program for young professionals. Hosted by the Culture Ministry and organized by the Korea Creative Content Agency, this program is now in its 13th year.
We started this program to give new creative talents one-on-one hands-on training with top industry professionals, helping them take their skills to the next level.
This year, a total of 300 mentees were selected across broadcast, film, music, games, cartoons, performing arts, and other creative fields. They will have the opportunity to learn from some of the best in their field through mentoring sessions and workshops.
I usually work alone on my music, but joining this program will let me get valuable feedback from top-notch mentors. Plus, the financial support means I can focus more on my music without stressing about making a living.
For some, this project has been a life-changing journey. Take Lee Shin-hwa, for example, the screenwriter of the popular 2019 baseball drama Hot Stove Lee.
My mentor was the legendary screenwriter Chung Sung-ju, who wrote Secret Love Affair. He gave me stern but helpful feedback and even treated me to meals. I consider my other mentor the grandfather of Hot Stove League. When I showed him the initial draft, he saw his potential and gave me advice on how to write a good sports drama.
For the mentors, it's an opportunity to discover fresh talent and share their insights.
I believe that technological trends shape how media content evolves, changing the way we direct and tell stories. Right now, it's AI. If the mentees think about how these technologies could influence future content, I am sure they'll create amazing work.
During the selection process, we saw that each applicant's portfolio brought a unique and fresh perspective, even if it wasn't perfect. I'm excited to work with these promising talents and see what we can achieve together.
With a shared passion for creating exceptional content, mentors and mentees will work together until November, aiming to open a bright new chapter in the world of K-content. Song Yoo-jin, Arirang News.
Amid the rise of Chinese e-commerce companies in the domestic market, South Korean companies have now begun to invest in quick commerce to remain competitive. Our business correspondent Lee Soo-jin is here in the studio with this topic. Welcome, Soo-jin.
Thank you for having me.
What is quick commerce and how is it different?
In short, it's faster. And it's being considered a lucrative and promising market, as it's expected to be valued at 5 trillion won, or around $3.6 billion by 2025, according to German delivery company Delivery Hero. So I went to see for myself how it works. So let's take a look. It's an age where consumers need instant gratification in every part of their lives. And South Korean e-commerce companies are trying to provide this need to remain competitive. Q-commerce, or quick commerce, allows for deliveries to be made in just a couple of hours, and sometimes even less than an hour, thanks to local warehouses and stores in urban areas. This is one such local warehouse that's located in the capital city Seoul, one of the busiest and packed cities in the world, and its close proximity is what allows deliveries to be made quickly. And micro-fulfillment centers often serve as warehouses in crowded cities because they take up less space. The nation's first smart micro-fulfillment center in a gas station has not only maximized its use of space, but has also minimized labor costs thanks to its automated order fulfillment process. When goods arrive, an employee scans each item and places them in a basket that is automatically taken up to the second level. And that's where 6 robots sort and store up to 3,600 goods each day based on where and when they need to be delivered.
We store and provide instant delivery of a variety of products such as makeup and phone accessories to nearby districts such as Gangnam-gu, Seocho-gu, and Songpa-gu.
This whole process, he says, takes only around 5 minutes, making instant deliveries possible. There are still other businesses that have joined the Q-commerce boom by taking advantage of their large network of stores, such as this health and beauty retailer that has around 1,400 chain stores across the nation. They offer a plethora of goods from snacks and supplements to makeup and perfume that can all be delivered within 3 hours of when the order is first placed. And it's been hugely successful, as 60% of the online orders in the Seoul metropolitan area are Q-commerce deliveries.
Sujin, why are Korean companies turning to quick commerce as a strategy to stay competitive?
The answer is quite simple, actually, is the speed. The domestic e-commerce market, as you mentioned earlier, has seen the rapid rise of Chinese e-commerce companies. Both AliExpress and Temu were ranked high in terms of monthly active users in the country during the first quarter of this year. Here's what one expert said are the main strengths and weaknesses of these Chinese e-commerce companies.
C-commerce or Chinese commerce products are popular among consumers because they're very cheap. But despite their price competitiveness, they have slow delivery times, which is a huge downside for consumers.
She also said that that's why quick commerce, as its main benefit is a speedy delivery time, will continue to be an effective strategy. But that's not the only reason, as South Korea's quick commerce industry in particular has another advantage as well.
While there are companies overseas that provide quick commerce services, South Korea's quick commerce has an advantage of its own thanks to a superior delivery infrastructure that allows for deliveries to not only be quick, but also cheap.
Well, are there any concerns about this particular market?
Yes, there are actually. And these are the factors that South Korean companies need to consider according to this expert. Let's take a listen.
Whoever secures the most areas within the city where they can build fulfillment centers, from at least around 1,000 square feet to up to around 3,500, will have the biggest advantage in the quick commerce industry.
But because land in Seoul is expensive, it'll be more difficult for smaller companies with fewer resources to gain a competitive edge. And because these micro-fulfillment centers in urban areas often tend to be on the smaller side, it's all the more important to optimize inventories.
It's important to have in stock the products that consumers want, and that might be done with AI. Being able to predict consumer demand will influence the competitiveness of Q-commerce companies.
But experts, for the most part, agree that for now, this is the best business strategy.
All right, thanks for that, Sujin.
Anytime.
Due to cloudy skies, temperatures did not rise as expected today. It will remain cloudy today and there will be some rain on Jeju Island and the south coast overnight. After that, skies are expected to be clear again from tomorrow morning gradually. Tomorrow's hour will be 17 degrees Celsius in the morning. Other areas will be similar to or slightly higher than today's temperatures. Daytime temperatures will be 26 degrees in Seoul, higher than today. In particular, there will be heat in various parts of the Gyeongsang-do provinces and the surrounding regions, with Daegu rising to 30 degrees. Daegu, Busan, and Jeju will start off at 18 degrees tomorrow morning. It will move up to 27 in Chuncheon, Daejeon, and Gwangju. There's rain forecast in the central parts of the country and Gyeongsang-Dokdo province on the weekend. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world. That is Newscenter for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session coming up.